It seems like the rumors about Canelo Álvarez versus Jake Paul might actually have some truth behind them, and here's why. According to reports from Felipe Corral, sources in Las Vegas leaked that a fight between Canelo Álvarez and Jake Paul could be happening this May. Adding to the speculation, Jake Paul himself recently announced that his next bout will be the biggest fight of his career. Even more interestingly, Jake's team confirmed that he'll be busy around Cinco de Mayo, which perfectly aligns with Canelo's traditional fight date. If this matchup really happens, it would be massive. Not only could it be one of the biggest pay-per-view events ever, but it also fits Canelo's recent pattern, focusing more on money fights than legacy ones. In recent years, he's avoided challenges like David Benavidez, Artur Beterbiev, and Dimitri Bivol, instead choosing safer fights at 168 pounds against names like Jamie Munguia and Edgar Berlanga. Canelo clearly prefers to stay comfortable and cash in on blockbuster events, and honestly, Jake Paul might just be the most profitable and easiest fight he could take. Let's be real, Jake Paul doesn't stand a serious chance. Canelo's experience, technique, and ring IQ are on another level. Even if Canelo isn't in his prime, Jake Paul's odds of winning are maybe 5% at best. Still, from a business standpoint, it makes perfect sense for both sides. Jake's coming off his huge Netflix fight with Mike Tyson, and there's no KSI matchup in sight. So how does he top that? By going after Canelo, a fight he's been calling for years. The only other name he's chased as much as Conor McGregor, and we all know that's not happening anytime soon. Interestingly, in the past, Canelo used to laugh off questions about Jake Paul. But lately, his tone has changed, he's more open to the idea now, even hinting that it might happen in the future. Considering his next planned fight is against Terence Crawford in September, the Cinco de Mayo date is wide open. Canelo almost always fights on that weekend, and skipping it would be strange. A quick, easy, money-making bout with Jake Paul would be the perfect way to fill the gap before Crawford, low risk, massive reward. At this point, it honestly feels more likely for Canelo to fight Jake Paul than to finally face Benavidez, a matchup he and his camp have shown zero interest in. So, while it might sound crazy, all the signs are pointing in one direction: Canelo Álvarez versus Jake Paul could really be happening. There's really no real risk for Canelo Álvarez if he fights Jake Paul. Let's be honest, he's not losing that fight. The idea that this matchup could actually happen is wild, but at this point, it's not unrealistic at all. In fact, it's starting to seem very possible. Canelo himself once said after Jake's fight with Mike Tyson that he'd like to avenge Mike, which makes the idea even more believable. And if Jake Paul is saying his next fight is bigger than the Tyson fight, what else could it possibly be? There's no opponent out there who could match that hype except Canelo Álvarez. Mike Tyson is a global icon, you can't top that in name value, but from a boxing standpoint, a fight against Canelo is the biggest and most legitimate step Jake could take. If these rumors are true, Jake's probably thrilled. He's been chasing fights with legends for years, and now he's finally getting the recognition and attention he's always wanted. A fight against an active world champion like Canelo would be a massive statement, even if it's just for the spectacle. Canelo may not be in his prime anymore, but he's still holding belts, still elite, and still dangerous. For Jake, just being in the ring with him would be a milestone, and if he can even show flashes of competitiveness, it could open huge doors for future fights. Honestly, this feels like the ultimate goal Jake has been building towards since the beginning of his boxing journey. Maybe it won't happen this May, maybe not even this year, but eventually, it feels inevitable. Whether in 2025 or later, Jake Paul versus Canelo Álvarez is a fight that seems destined to happen. If it does, the only question will be at what weight. Canelo usually fights at 168 pounds, while Jake has competed closer to cruiserweight. They'd probably meet somewhere around 190 or a catchweight that suits both sides. For Canelo, it's a low-risk, high-reward opportunity, an easy payday, massive publicity, and minimal danger. But for Jake? It's the opposite. This is everything he's been building toward, the peak of his boxing narrative. Once he faces Canelo, there's nowhere higher to go. And when not if he loses, the question becomes, what's next? Still, Jake has proven he knows how to spin a loss. He's already lost to Tommy Fury, so another defeat wouldn't destroy his brand. If anything, it could make him even more marketable. But one thing's for sure, this fight, if it happens, will mark a turning point for both men in completely different ways. And honestly, if Jake Paul loses to Canelo, it won't hurt him at all. Everyone already expects him to lose. In fact, as long as he can show even a glimpse of skill or competitiveness, that alone would be a win for him. People have never truly given Jake full credit for any of his fights, especially the Mike Tyson one, mainly because Tyson was pushing 60. But fighting Canelo Álvarez, an active world champion, would be different. Sure, the critics will still talk, they'll laugh, and they'll make excuses no matter what happens. But if Jake manages to land some good shots, show composure, or just hang in there longer than expected, that alone would earn him a new level of respect, even from people who don't like him. His star power wouldn't drop at all. He's already taken a loss before to Tommy Fury, and that didn't slow down his career or brand one bit. So another loss, this time to one of the greatest boxers of the modern era, wouldn't change much either. Jake is in a win-win situation here. He's not entering the sport as some undefeated, unstoppable contender. He came from the influencer world, built his name on entertainment and spectacle, and turned it into a boxing empire. People don't tune in to see a perfect record, they tune in for the show. The hype. The chaos. The unexpected moments. And even though the YouTube boxing experiment has started to lose some of its spark, Jake still finds ways to pull people back in. His fight with Mike Tyson proved that it was reportedly watched by over 60 million people, making it one of the most viewed boxing events of the decade. Sure, it wasn't a pay-per-view, which helped boost the numbers, but still, you can't deny the reach and attention Jake Paul brings to the sport. That's exactly why a fight with Canelo makes so much sense. It's not just boxing, it's an event, a crossover spectacle that guarantees global attention. And whether Jake wins, loses, or just survives a few rounds, he walks away richer, more famous, and even harder to ignore. It's crazy to say, but Jake Paul has become one of the biggest names in boxing right now. Love him or hate him, his name draws attention, and that's exactly why a fight with Canelo Álvarez makes so much sense. Even if Jake loses, which most expect, it won't be the end of his story. He could easily rebuild and chase a rematch down the line when Canelo is older and perhaps a bit slower. With how unpredictable boxing has become, you can't rule that out entirely. The real question, though, is what happens next if Jake fights Canelo. His career trajectory has gone from one massive event to another, from Mike Tyson to possibly Canelo Álvarez, and there's not much higher he can go from there. Once you shared the ring with a global superstar like Canelo, what's left? If Jake were to follow that up with a lesser-known opponent, it might feel like a huge step down for fans and the media. Realistically, the only fights that could still generate massive hype afterward are KSI or maybe a Tommy Fury rematch. KSI vs Jake Paul has been teased for years, and while there's still no guarantee it'll happen, that matchup would break the internet if it ever did. As for Tommy Fury, Jake never got that loss back, and a rematch could be the perfect rebound fight to rebuild momentum after a Canelo bout. No matter what direction he takes, one thing's for sure, Canelo vs Jake Paul feels like an inevitable showdown. Whether it happens on Cinco de Mayo or sometime in the near future, the pieces are falling into place. Let us know what you think about this potential matchup, Jake Paul vs Canelo Álvarez. Do you think it actually happens? And if it does, what comes next for Jake? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe, and check out the next Fight Kings video for more boxing coverage.